Hello, welcome to the Management Channel. In this section, we're going to look at supply chain management. What we want to look at is the strategic importance of the supply chain, often neglected and not thought of. It's a make or buy versus outsourcing. Review the 6 sourcing strategies. We're going to look at some supply chain risks. We're going to review logistics management and distribution. We're going to take a look at the techniques of measuring supply chain performance. And so, first of all, let's define what is a supply chain. It's a global network of organizations and activities that supply a firm with goods and services. The transformation process begins at your supplier's suppliers and ends when your customer gets their product from you. So, what's the objective of supply chain management? It's to coordinate activities within the supply chain to maximize the supply chain's competitive advantage and benefits to the ultimate customer. This coordination starts with obtaining the raw materials and ends with a satisfied customer at the end of the stream. It includes your suppliers, the manufacturers and/or service providers, your distributors, your wholesalers, your retailers, and then finally, the consumer, the final customer. Business competition is increasingly relying on supply chain management, and thus competition is no longer just between companies, it's even between supply chains. A larger portion of incoming revenue is spent on purchases of supplies needed to conduct your business. Thus, managing that source of expense has gained extreme importance. So let's take a look at a supply chain for beer. It comes from the farm where they produce hops and grains. They take it to a distributor who distributes the different various types of grains, and it's sent to the brewer. The brewer brews the beer, sends it to the distributor, goes to the grocery store, and there it is in the rack for you to buy. Now, also understand there's also a bottle manufacturer. So he has to get his glass from somewhere, put the label on it, make it all set and ready to go, and ship it on. Same with the can company. Take a look here at how corporate strategy impacts supply chain decisions. Read this for a few moments. I'm not going to read this all to you. Pause if you need to. So as you can see, the decisions that companies make on supply chain management directly affects their performance. So now, do we make or buy versus outsourcing? Choosing between obtaining products and services externally or to produce them internally. Outsourcing is transfer traditional internal activities and resources to an outside vendor. They may specialize in a particular type of technology, and that leaves you able to focus on your core competency. There are 6 sourcing strategies: many suppliers, few suppliers, vertical integration, joint ventures, keiretsu networks, and virtual companies. Many suppliers is commonly used for commodity products such as screws, cans, etc. Purchasing is typically based on the price, and suppliers compete with one another by bidding for the business by submitting what their price would be. Suppliers responsible for the technology, the expertise, forecasting, cost, quality, and delivery to you as the first customer. Few suppliers form longer-term relationships with fewer suppliers. Creates a value through economics of scale and learning curve improvements between the two companies. Suppliers more willing to participate in just-in-time programs and contribute both design and technological expertise. The cost of changing suppliers is huge, so to have just a few and focus on them is a cost savings to you in the long run. Trade secrets, black box designs, and other alliances also come into play with having a few specialized suppliers. There's also what's called vertical integration, developing the ability to produce a good or service that you previously purchased for doing it yourself in-house. Integration could be forward towards the customer or backwards towards the supplier. It helps improve cost, quality, and inventory but it does require some capital, some managerial skills, and demand. It's risky in some industries with rapid technological change, however. Joint ventures, on the other hand, are a formal collaboration. It enhances skills, secures supply, and helps reduce the costs if the supplier is in business with you in a joint venture. The cooperation is without diluting the brand or conceding any kind of competitive advantage. Keiretsu networks are a middle ground between few suppliers and vertical integration. Supplier becomes part of the company coalition. Often provides financial support for suppliers from the primary company through ownership or loans, or like a partial ownership. Members expect long-term relationships and provide technical expertise and stable, on-time, regular deliveries. May extend through several levels of the supply chain. There's virtual companies, where they rely on a variety of supplier relationships to provide services on demand. There are fluid organizational boundaries that allow the creation of unique enterprises to meet changing market demands. A relationship could be short-term or it could be long-term. And the benefit is it's exceptionally lean performance, low capital investment, high flexibility, and speed. An example would be a dress designer's contract. You create the design and then you send it on to someone who makes the design for you. That's a virtual company. Supply chain risk. Well, more reliance on supply chains means more risk. And the fewer suppliers you have increases the dependence you have on them, thus higher risk. Compounded by globalization and logistical complexity, vendor reliability and quality risks, political and currency risks, because the currency can fluctuate frequently. Risk and mitigation tactics. Research and assess your possible risks. Do some innovative planning. Reduce your potential disruptions. Prepare responses for negative events. Have flexible, secure supply chains. Do they have a backup system should something go wrong at their facility? And have a diversified supplier base. So here are some risk and mitigation tactics. I will leave this for you to read. And pause if you need to. Thus, you see a couple of examples. All right, so managing the integrated supply chain. Local optimization can magnify fluctuations. Incentives push merchandise into the supply chain for sales that have not yet occurred. Large lots reduce shipping costs, but they increase your inventory holding, and they really don't show what your actual sales are. And the bullwhip effect. The bullwhip effect occurs when orders are relayed through the supply chain, increasing at each step. Variations in demand cause inventory to fluctuate and get out of control. Inventory fluctuation can be magnified by periodic ordering, reacting to a shortage in your inventory, inaccurate forecasting, order by batches rather than by need, any sales incentives on promotion, like buy one and get 50% off the second one, for instance, and liberal product return policies. It results in higher costs and actually lower customer satisfaction. Opportunities in managing. What is an accurate pull data? Accurate sales data that is shared to initiate transaction to pull the product through the supply chain rather than just order it and have it on hand. Lot size reduction is shipping discounts based on volume, reduced ordering costs through standing orders, and EDI, electronic data interchange. Single stage control of replenishment is designating a member in the supply chain as responsible for monitoring and managing your inventory. Vendor managed inventory is using a local supplier to maintain a certain amount of inventory for you as a manufacturer or you as a retailer. Collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment, or CPFR. Members of a supply chain share information in a joint effort to reduce all supply chain costs. Blanket orders are long-term purchase commitment to a supplier for items to be delivered against short-term releases to ship. And standardization, purchasing standardized products, labeling, packaging, and so forth to reduce the variation of products. Postponement is delaying any modification to a product as long as possible in the production process. EDI, electronic order and funds transfer, is the electronic communications of orders and bank transfers of funds. Drop shipping is shipping directly from the supplier to the end consumer, saving time and reshipping costs. So if they make something for you, you have them deliver it directly to the consumer. You sell it, you're just the middle person. But it goes from that supplier to the customer. That's drop shipping. Building your supply base, first thing you should do is find potential suppliers. Determine the likelihood of their becoming a good supplier. Do a site inspection and a product quality evaluation. Also, check and see if I have a qualification such as ISO 9000. Education, learn as much as you can about them. And certification, either by you or an external company. When I was a lead auditor and a supplier development engineer, my job was to go out and ensure that the supplier met the standards of ISO 9000. Vendor selection, critical decision through a matrix. You can do that through a matrix. Find potential vendors, determine the likelihood of them becoming good suppliers, and evaluate the sources of supply in terms of price, quality, reputation, and their service. That's also very important. So here you can see a formula where you put down the criteria, what is the information that you're looking for. You give it a weighted factor, and then the score is between 1 and 5, and you multiply that weight by the factor, and it gives you a weight score. So you can see here at the bottom of this one, this supplier ranked in at 3.9. But perhaps the next supplier would rank in at 4.5. So you'd go with the one with the better matrix score. Second step is to integrate the supplier into the system. Let them know what your quality requirements are, what your product specifications are, when you expect to have product delivered to you, what is your purchasing policy, what training do you need or do they need, do they provide any engineering and production help, and what is the information transfer procedure between the two of you. Negotiations, 3 classic types. Cost-based price model, the supplier opens books. Market-based price model, based on published auction or index prices. And competitive bidding, which is used more often, common policy for many purchases. It does not generally foster any long-term relationship just by getting a bid from them. Contracting, stating the terms of a relationship, sharing risks, benefits, and trying to create incentives for both. Common features, quantity discounts, lower prices for larger shipments. Buybacks, any unsold material they can return to you. Revenue sharing, sharing the risks and revenues. Centralized purchasing is when a company with multiple facilities will purchase common items for the corporation, for the individual units, and sometimes individual units will purchase their local items. E-procurement uses the internet to facilitate purchasing through EDI. Electronic order and transfer process also provides an advanced shipping notice. Online catalogs on the web are provided by vendors, catalogs also published by intermediaries, and exchange provided by buyers. Your logistics management is the approach that you seek for the efficiency of operations through the integration of all material acquisitions, movement, and storage activities, also to include delivery. It refers to the movement of materials, services, cash, and information in a supply chain within a facility, your incoming shipments, and your outgoing shipments. It's a frequent candidate, though, for outsourcing. Most companies will outsource their logistics handling. It allows a competitive advantage to be gained through reduced costs and improve customer service. Distribution systems, what's the best way to move your goods to market? You have to think of the costs, the speed to market, what's the handling for it, and so which methods will you use? Trucking moves the vast majority of manufactured goods. Chief advantage is it's very flexible. They can drive anywhere. Railroad is capable of carrying large loads. However, they have little flexibility through containers, and piggybacking have helped with it. Still, it's rail point to rail point. Air freight, very fast and flexible for light loads, but it's expensive. Waterways, it's typically used for bulky, low-value cargo, and it's slow, used when shipping cost is more important than the speed. Pipelines are used for transporting oil, gas, and other chemical products from one point to another. Now let's look at something called cross-docking. Materials are moved directly from the receiving to shipping and are not placed in storage in the warehouse. So you'll have trucks coming in and trucks sitting there waiting to go out. It's scheduled so the trucks come in, a high-low takes to move the product to the other truck, and away it goes. But it requires tight scheduling, accurate shipment information, RFID identifications used so that you know when materials are loaded, moved, and unloaded. There's also third-party logistics, and that's what we were talking about, outsourcing. Outsourcing can help you reduce your costs and improve your delivery reliability and speed, and it frees up your management to not be concerned with that. You can coordinate supplier inventory with delivery services, and they may even provide warehousing, assembly, testing, shipping, and customs help. Distribution management is managing the outbound flow of products with a rapid response to your customers, a large selection of products and features, and giving them service both before and after. Increasing the number of facilities generally improves your response time and customer satisfaction. Okay, so now there are some ethics and sustainable supply chain management tactics. Personal ethics, critical to the long-term success of an organization. Supply chains are particularly susceptible. You should have ethics within the supply chain, ethical behavior regarding your environment, and adhere to the ISM Ethical Standards Code, the Institute for Supply Management Principles and Standards. I'll leave that for you to read. Pause if you need to. So as you can see, everything has ethical rules and regulations. Trying to establish some sustainability, simply put, return or reverse logistics, sending returned products back up the supply chain for resale, repair, reuse, remanufacture, recycling, or even disposal. Closed-loop supply chain is a proactive design of a supply chain that tries to optimize all forward and reverse flows. It prepares for returns prior to product introduction. Example, one-use cameras from Kodak. That's back in the days. I don't think they make those anymore. Today's business has become more aware of money, capital, that is tied up in inventory and supplies. Assets committed to inventory is the percentage invested in inventory. So you have your total inventory investment divided by your total assets multiplied by 100. For instance, Home Depot had 11.4 billion inventory and total assets of 44.4 billion. So they had 25.7% of their assets invested in inventory. That's quite a bit. Inventory turnover. It's the cost of goods sold divided by the inventory investment. It's the average of several periods, and it's your ending inventory. From PepsiCo, here's an annual report. Their turnover was 8.4. Cost of goods sold, 14.2. And their turnover was 1.69. So 8.4 was their rating. Weeks of supply. Take your inventory investment, divide it by the actual cost of goods sold, divided by 52 weeks. For PepsiCo, it was $1.69 billion. Average weekly cost of goods sold was 14.2 divided by 52 weeks, or 0.273 billion. Weeks of supply, 1.69 divided by the 0.273. They should have 6.19 weeks of supply on hand. Thank you for watching. I hope that wasn't too confusing for you. And of course, you can feel free to go back through and look at the calculations again. Have a wonderful day.